Well, hello and a very warm welcome to Paws for Thought, brought to you by the GBG, the Greyhound Board of Great Britain. It's the Derby Special, episode number 2. I'm Dave Clark and I'm joined by Irish Greyhound racing expert Ian Fortune. How are you, Ian?
Smug, very smug.
Yeah,
No
I can imagine.
about it, Dave.
There was just the 14 entries from Ireland into this year's Greyhound Derby. 12 qualified, and it felt like domination because you managed to win half of the 16 heats.
Yeah, it was a very impressive couple of nights for the Irish runners. No question about it. We knew they were a strong team, however, so it didn't come as a surprise, and I don't even think it came as a surprise to most of yourselves because our six that emerged were generally proven talents. Like Lenson Bocco, even though he's an Irish Derby winner from last year, he wasn't being touted as our best hope. I suppose that would suggest the strength of our team. And thankfully, they all produced, because your biggest fear is that they've had very little preparation for this competition around Nottingham. But apart from one or two of them giving us heart failure on the opening corner, they all ran the place reasonably well. And there's no question they were really suited to the conditions of Nottingham, the galloping nature of the circuit. And they all handled the very testing conditions on the Saturday night, which was also impressive. But that's our team. They're a very strong running team. There's no real speedsters that won't get the trip, whereas you did see a few of the UK challengers that do struggle to get the 500 metres going backwards up the home straight on Saturday night. And given better conditions on Saturday night, I think it'll tighten things up. I don't think it's going to be quite the domination we're hoping for going forward.
Well, as you say, things have tightened up. 96 have become 48 in this year's Star Sports and Arc Greyhound Derby at Nottingham. We've had a look at everyone. Now, Ian, let's run through the heats. And it was Dearjet Sydney who won the opening heat and set the tone for, as I say, what felt like a little bit of Irish domination. And what a night for Pat Buckley as well, because he sent out 3 runners, 3 of his 14, and all 3 of them won. But this one in particular was impressive in that, he's a dog that immediately, once he's into action, he's looking for the inside. So he's almost always going to need to cheat the draw.
Yeah, we knew exactly what to expect. It doesn't matter what track he's on. That's what he does. He dives to the fence. The next night, he's a couple of not flying starters by any stretch of imagination is inside, so hopefully he'll get across from trap 3. But yeah, once he got to the fence, he was always in pole position. Although I did think the Jackster's dog ran very well on the outside, very wide in parts. He looked like he'd come on for the run at Nottingham, looked like he'd improve for the look. And I was actually quite impressed with the runner-up too. But yeah, good start, Dearjet Sydney. And, obviously signified what was to come from the Irish challengers and more specifically Pat Buckley.
We did strike back though through very English trainer Seamus Carhill, obviously Hove trainer Seamus, with his Smurfs machine, who showed a nice burst of early speed in, got off the front and made all.
Yeah, I was actually quite impressed with Smurfs machine. I know the time wasn't there particularly, but he wasn't fast as they hit the ground. But he got racing into the corner, really relished the longer run to the bend, did throw away a length or two around a few of the corners running a bit wide, but once he straightened up into the home straight, he galloped again to the winning line. He's going to get his draw most nights. I wouldn't be surprised if this fellow went very well in the competition. I give him a chance on Saturday night coming from the draw, although it's a tough enough heat. But no, a good win for Seamus Cahill and good for the UK to get off the board.
Yeah, we've adopted Seamus for a long time now, with him being attached to Hove.
Point of order, Seamus used to work with my mother many, many years ago as a chef, believe it or not.
Wow, absolutely brilliant. And he is a man that knows how to as well, of course, because he won it a couple of years ago with his astute missile. Then we went back to Mr. Buckley with Glenn Garbow, who I thought was very impressive. And he lit up the opening rounds of the Irish Derby, and he might just do the same in the English Derby as well.
Yeah, and he could go further in the English Derby. He's a dog that's learning a straight all the time. Very impressive in the opening 2 or 3 rounds of the Irish Derby, as you said. The wheels sort of fell off towards the back end of it, but a very talented greyhound with a very big future, and by all accounts this could be the start of his future. He really did take the Nottingham, very impressive. Cut in on the opening corner, but certainly went up straight from trap 5 until the winning line, and at that point he made his move across. That would be my fear, maybe in 1 or 2 of the later rounds, if there's something on the inside that's going to stay middle line. But no, very impressive run from Glenn Garbow, and deservedly well up in the betting for the outright honours.
Absolutely. And then we saw one of the short price fancies in the first round heats. Dean Ridge Rapid turned over by Savannah Cody. He was having his first race for trainer Diane Henry and owner Kevin Boothby. But I mean, tell us a little bit more about Savannah Cody, Ian, because you would have seen him more than us, because he obviously raced in Ireland as New Line Cody.
Yeah, he had his first 6 starts in Ireland. Won his first 3 races in the Salute to Our Industry Open on Race Stake. It was a very valuable stake over here in Shelburne Park. Really lit up the place in the first 3 rounds. Very impressive. Real professional display. Fast starter. Got to the front. Stayed there. Maintaining a strong gallop all the way to the line. The wheels sort of fell off then a little bit. Was beaten in the final. The challengers seemed to be coming at him every night. They seemed to be improving, whereas he just did his running from night one. He looked like a dog that had been well schooled. Had 2 runs in the Derby, was third in the opening round to Ballymacwild, and was then knocked out in the second round of our Irish Derby, at which time he went across the water. He'd already been sold at that point to Kevin, and obviously it's been a couple of weeks since then. He's got settled in a bit more, probably developing, maturing all the time. Ran well from the front, got there. He was actually beaten for early speed by New In Jacko, but drove the opening bend, got to the front again, and once doing so, he galloped all the way to the winning line. He's a nice strong running greyhound. I don't know if he's going to win a Derby, but he can certainly go another round or 2.
Well, I was going to ask you, what was his running style be? Because he showed a little bit of early, he showed a little bit of middle. Where would you pigeonhole him?
I'd put him as an all-rounder, a dog with a solid one pace. I don't think he'll fly to the corner. I don't think he'll fly down the back, and he's certainly not going to fly home. He'll just do all 3 well, which is a good traits in a dog. He'll win loads of races. Just I'd be fearful that when it comes to the really sharp end of things in the Derby, there'll be dogs going by him into the opening corners if he stopped. Dogs that be better down the back, and then dogs that be finishing better than him. He's a dog that could qualify for a round or 2. You never know, but no, I do think there will be dogs that will be faster than him.
Okay, and then we move on to Julie Bateson's Gonzo, who won heat number 5. Very, very impressive. Wide running salt early on, Ian, but showing great track craft throughout.
Yeah, really big fan of this dog. We said it last week, Dave. Lots to like about this fellow. Big early, big pace throughout. I was surprised the Swanley chick went up as well as she did. She got a bit lost around the place. She did drift wider than she would normally do. She is more of an inside runner. When she drifted off the second, took his opportunity, slipped up her inside, showed great pace into the third bend, took it up. As you'd expect, he stayed middle at that point, holding the lady up, and he went on to win impressively. And I would imagine there's certainly 3, maybe 4 lengths better to come in next week or the week after, and perhaps even better then after. Yeah, I can see him as one of the leading English challengers going forward. I think he's a really nice dog, and I believe you have a bit of a story about him.
I do, yeah. He's obviously he's owned by Kenny Glenn, the Scottish owner, who owns quite a few dogs with Pat Buckley as well as Julie Bateson, who he has Gonzo with. And I think there might just be more to come from him still, because Julie was telling my colleague at the Racing Post, Phil Donaldson, that originally Gonzo was with Pat Buckley.
I had heard that. Yeah, I had heard that.
And there had been he managed to escape. He jumped over a wall. It was unknown how, but he managed to jump over a wall when he escaped, and it took them 2 hours to get him back. And he's a very, very nervous dog, and I think the decision was made sort of pre-lockdown for him to be sent to Julie's. She operates a very, very small team. She's very hands-on and
bit of tender loving care.
Absolutely, yeah. We all need a little bit of that every now and again, Ian. And that came just before lockdown, and then Julie's got to work with him over lockdown. Obviously, she's been based at the kennels throughout, and the dog's improving all the time. He's more confident now, and I think we're beginning to see that. And I just wonder whether should he get to the final. We're only at the second round. Let's not go beyond this, get beyond ourselves here, but this might be a rare year in which we don't have a Derby Raw, as it were, and he might just be a dog, given that he has been so nervous in the past, that might benefit from that. So a great story, testament to Julie that the work that she's done with throughout lockdown, and it's paying fruition. It's coming to fruition because she's already won the Ladbrokes Gold Cup up at Monmore, and as you say, I think he's a big player. Big
Yeah,
player.
he's a dog that's clearly thriving. Like very impressive at Monmore, obviously enough. And as we said last week, Nottingham is his track. I think looking at him on Saturday night, or Friday night, should I say, there's definitely better to come. He can certainly go faster, and yeah, certainly one I'd keep on side.
Absolutely right. Then we move on to heat number 6, which was won by Distant Star for Carol Weatherall. Recently switched. A good performance, Ian, but unfortunately he's been withdrawn since, I think, through a wrist injury.
Yeah, it's a shame. He was the dog I was familiar with. He'd won a few races around Shelburne Park. A nice, pacey type. Hopefully, it's nothing too serious, and we'll see him again in the future. Obviously, he's not going to be there next week, and those behind him probably aren't going to be in the Derby shake-up. So, it's a heat where it was good for them to get the win. Unfortunately, he won't be there next week.
And heat number 7, it was back to the Pat Buckley show, and what a performance this was, Ian, because it was crash bang wallop at the boxes, and Knock the Ball Sid was away and gone.
Yeah, he would have been the least fancied of Pat's in the outright market. Although I did get a phone call that day about whether Knock the Bull Sid could win that night. What were my thoughts on it? And I said, well, he'll be in front, and it's a case of if nothing gets to him but a third bend, he'll keep going. And that was very much the key to success for Knock the Bull Sid. He's a progressive dog. He was improving through the Irish Derby. I beg your pardon, but just before the Irish Derby, got knocked out early in that, was running in the Derby plate. Got badly done on one of the occasions, got knocked out of it, but is a dog that has good early speed. I think trap 3 is his perfect box. As you saw the other night, really went up strongly from the middle. He's in hot the next night. It'll be interesting to see how much further he'll go.
He's certainly one to watch out for, that early speed. And then the 8th and final heat on Friday was dominated by Newcastle trainers, actually, because it was Gary Carmichael's Little Ema who beat Stuart Tyres' Final. Mad impressive effort from the front there. And we move on to Saturday, Ian. I think it's fair to say that conditions were slightly different to which they were on Friday.
Yeah, like Doolin Duke won the opening heat, and I like the conservatively rated at 90 slow. Looking at him to the eye, if you'd said a second and a half, I wouldn't have disagreed with you, because he couldn't have done any more. He won by 12 and a half lengths. Yeah, as it was, what a job the track staff did, because bar one or two dogs, maybe Bocco's Doomy, because he was so tight to the fence, I don't think any dogs were really inconvenienced by the track surface. I believe there was no real bias. Coulivanny Chick went up very well from the outside, perhaps using the best of the ground at that stage, but no, bar perhaps those two, there was no real bias. I thought every dog ran on their merits and had their chances, and great credit to the track staff, and by all accounts all dogs came off safe and sound, and that's the main thing. I heard no grumblings. Certainly there hasn't been an Irish trainer grumbling about the conditions, and that's a good sign.
Yeah, absolutely. Full testament to Paul Smith and all his team that worked on the track. The rain was relentless, but so was they working on the track as well. And as you say, and no injuries reported from Saturday night, which is the most important thing. Doolin Duke was obviously one that you flagged up last week of the select elite Irish team. He was one that you flagged up that could go all the way. And did he show what you expected him to show?
He didn't. He did on Saturday night. Obviously I was being a bit cheeky in a sense, where I knew he was the one dog that was housed to win and probably should win. He absolutely dotted up, because we know how talented he possibly is, but it makes me look like a genius because I'm after picking a dog that looks a likely winner. And, over in the UK, you're not as familiar with him, but we know he's a massive engine and any amount of potential. When this dog was seen as every bit as good as new in session in the unraced stake around Clonmel, that says an awful lot about the dog. Very impressive, really taken by him. And I think if he continues in that vein, he could be there Derby final night. I'm just hoping for a bit of luck in the draw and whatnot. I'm on at big prices. I'd like to think one or two others are too.
And that man, Mr. Buckley, that was 4 from 4. He sent a team of 4, and he mopped up in the first round. And I know that you talk to Pat quite frequently, Ian. The cliche question would be, what would it mean to him to win the English Derby? But it's almost obvious that it would mean that much, because he tries every year. He sends a team over every year of good dogs. He's not coming to make up the numbers. He's always coming to win.
Yeah, it'll mean a lot to him, obviously enough. But Pat's a cool customer. Do you know what I mean? Like, you'd see plenty of delight in his face, but if he doesn't win it, he'll shrug it off and go again. He, like the pipes in horse racing back in the day, he knows where to put his dogs. Do you know what I mean? He puts a bit of work into where should they be seated, or where should they be running, or what tracks will suit, and what dogs can produce their best at this place. He brought a team of 4 over, all 4 won, all 4 did it the right way. You can say no more about it than that. Very impressive display from all his dogs, but a more impressive display from Pat himself.
Yeah, and another greyhound that did it the right way was Wolf. It was very, very impressive. He's approaching his 4th birthday, Ian. Obviously, he's an Easter Cup winner at Shelbourne Park, a big competition you have there. And he's just starting to show a little bit of his old sparkle, is Wolf. He looks a player to me in this year's derby if he can hold his form.
He was, and after lockdown, there was obviously problems because they didn't bring him out straight away. And when he did come out, he looked a bit off the boil. But with each run, you can see him coming forward. It all culminated on Derby final night over here, where he produced a very big run from the front. It was clear that night that, yeah, he was nearly back to his very best. And on Saturday night, it was so impressive. This is a dog in his early days had to lead or forget about it. You look at him now, like he ran in the Night of Stars last year over 575 yards and very unlucky not to win against Ballymac Cooper. He's a much stronger dog than he was in his youth. What he did down the back straight was devastating. He just ran away from some decent dogs and emerged a very easy winner in the end. Very tricky draw on Saturday night to come, but I'm not going to rule out Wolf because the old head, or the old head is he's experienced. He knows how to do it, and he's willing to go to battle. And I wouldn't rule him out going a little bit further in the competition just yet. I wouldn't. Obviously he's going to be very short on Saturday night. A very tricky draw. I wouldn't be backing him to win this heat, but it'd be very hard to keep him out of frame.
Yeah, let's hope he qualifies. He's a real favourite of mine. Wolf doing it for the older generation, should we say? He's been one of the oldest left in the competition. Right, very popular winner of Heat 11, Blue Tick George, winner for Jim Daly. Really good buckle with Newcastle bitch Kulavani Bani.
Yeah, I had tipped up Kulavani Bani into the bench. She was going to be a winner. If she stays middle, Blue Tick George held his line up the inside. I still thought the bitch would win off the second bend, but Blue Tick George really is strong. He galloped to that winning line. Very impressive display by him. I dare say an inside draw will be imperative for him because he probably doesn't have the early speed to lead around against the very best dogs. But if he's on the inside, he can certainly find a pitch. And yeah, I think he'll qualify again on Saturday night because he's very well drawn on the inside. Fast greyhound. It'd be great to see the Blue Tick boys doing well because they really are. They're putting an effort into this game, and I like to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. Big following, I'm no doubt, for a Blue Tick George with that syndicate and dogs both in the UK and in Australia as well. Vic's Charm was the winner of heat number 12. Went from getting beaten a graded race, Ian, at Crayford, to dotting up off the front for Gentleman Jim Reynolds.
Yeah, good win for Vic's Charm. It got to the front. That was the main thing. It's going to be tougher from here on in, but it's great to see dogs like that winning in derbies. That's what you want to see. It's not all about just the superstars, as you say. A graded winner in recent times. It'd be lovely to see him go another round or two.
Absolutely, and then it was Southwood Jet. Very impressive for Richard Rees. Mentioned him last week, of course, as a third-generation trainer, looking to emulate his grandfather and his father, who both won the Derby. What do we make of Southwood Jet?
We make that he's a very strong running greyhound. He got a lovely run into the opening corner. He did get a lovely clean run into the bend, had all the room up the inside. But once he went to the front, there was no stopping this fellow. And I love the way he powered up the home straight. Really strong running greyhound. I'd be a little concerned about where he'll be drawn going on. I think he'll need the fence, but no, there's certainly nothing wrong with the engine. And once you have the engine, you have a chance.
Yeah, talking of engines, Kulavani Chick was the next tee, and she has some engine because she's a special lady. She's very, very strong.
Very strong. What surprised me was how well she went up. I did sort of intimate earlier on that if you actually look where she's galloping, it just did seem to be a slightly drier patch. There wasn't as much still water on the ground as other dogs were facing. I wonder, was she just on that yard faster line into the opening corner? But very impressive. Like, she got clipped on the bend. Like, Linson Bacco did his best to try and knock her over. She recovered. She showed great balance, and she was back and in front again off the second bend, passing Bramble Reggie as if he was stopped virtually. Very impressive. She really powers to the winning line, but I dare say the second dog, Linson Bacco, will probably take more of the headlines because of his display. Really encouraging run from the 2019 Irish Derby winner. He can probably go up a little bit faster, and that might come, but no, very encouraging run by him. But Kulavani Chick, like she's red hot favourite to be the top bitch in the competition. A little bit of luck, you never know. I still think Koulibaly Bani is a player in that market. Of course, they are sisters, so it'll be interesting to see.
Absolutely. And just quickly, let's touch on Lenson Bocco then, Ian, because for a long, long time, after he won the Irish Derby, he was favourite for the English, headed by Ice on Fire, and then there was the injury that happened to Ice on Fire, and then he was back to the head of the betting. But he didn't look the same dog during the Irish Greyhound Derby, and he was coming out the boxes, starting to move inside. But there was definitely that old sparkle back with Lenson Bocco. I'm sure connections will be absolutely delighted, not just to have qualified, but from what they saw from him.
Yeah, very encouraging run. People say to you last year, oh, he was all about crash, bang, go from the front. But arguably his best run in last year's Derby was the night he finished third behind Magical Bale and Kilmacdonough. That night, he sort of announced to the world, I'm here as a big Derby player. It was a big run. And it was a similar sort of display the other night behind Koulibaly Chick. I'm not sure he checked wide purely because she could have crossed him. He did seem to be making that move already. He just seemed to be a bit lost in the place. But I'm glad the seating panel have kept him as an inside. Now, I'm also glad he's seated drawn middle the next night, because I do believe with a couple of looks around the place, you'll see this dog staying much, much tighter to the fence than he did the other night. Great to see him back. I just hope that it doesn't end in tears, in the sense where he does a strange thing in the corner again and gets himself knocked over or something like that. I just hope that we see this dog running on his merits. And if he does, and let's say the other 5 best dogs in the competition get to the final, we could be in for one hell of a finish.
And the $1 million question, which trap would you like to see him in?
Ideally, I'd like to see him in 3 every night.
Right.
But I wouldn't be too concerned about 2. 1 is a slight concern, but he has raced from 1 in the past. He's first started his career as an inside seed. It's worth mentioning that. But no, trap 3 would be nice. Like, obviously going forward, there's going to be an awful lot of inside seeds. So, you're going to have dogs in trap 5 that want trap 1. You're going to have dogs in trap 1 that want trap 3 and 4. So the draw is going to be of vital importance in this Derby, more so than many Derbies of the past.
Absolutely. And a ground that looked well suited to Nottingham was Ballydoyle Valor, who you gave another mention to last week as one to look out for. Perhaps not one of the leading Irish fancies in terms of the betting market, but certainly showed up well in the first round, and looks a ground who's going to be very, very hard to keep out of the first 3 in. Looks the sort that's going to keep on qualifying.
Yeah, touch of the black parachutes about him, whereas you might lack that yard into the opening corner. But you saw down the other back straight the other night, and the way he ran the third bend, he looked like a dog that had been running around Nottingham every Monday night in an A4. Like, he looked absolutely at home in the place, drove the third bend, so impressive. I'm surprised he didn't go better than he did, but maybe the conditions at that point, maybe just trap 1 and the loose ground, he just didn't quite going, but he can go up faster than that. This is a dog that's led over 550, 575, 600 around Shelbourne Park. Trap 5 the next night's a bit of a concern, but it's one of the weaker heats, so hopefully he'll qualify and get an inside draw in the 3rd round. But yeah, no surprise to me that he won. He was one of my bigger bets in the opening round, and delighted to say I clicked. Also impressed with Distant Village in the same race. I thought he ran very well. He was showing pace into the opening corner, was forced wide, held up a bit, and was coming home strongly again. I know the money came from. I know he's very talented. Like, he's not exactly a newcomer to the UK, but he's a fast greyhound and draw dependent in the round or 2 coming. He could certainly spring a surprise some night at 4 or 5 to 1.
Now, the 16th and final first round heat, Ian, was probably a heat that you could watch 4, 5, 6 times and take out a different thing from the race each time. It was an incredible race. It was eventually won by the anti-post favourite New In Session, who looks a real powerhouse of a greyhound. In defeat, Clara Icon caught the eye, ran a massive race, Irish Derby finalist. And Bocco's Doomy, one of the leading UK challenges, he ran a huge race as well. What did you make of the race? It was an absolute belter.
Yeah, it wasn't good for the heart. Now, let it be said, Dave, especially when you want your best dogs to progress. And when You In Session ran off that opening corner and found himself back where he did, you're going, oh, here we go. It took him a while to get around the 6th dog, but once he did, he just seemed to get to Bocco's Doomy quite easily. As I said earlier on, Bocco's Doomy, because he's no question probably the tightest railer in the country, perhaps was just on that little bit of softer ground where, rainwater gathers, or where the sludge sort of gathers. He didn't seem to get going, because whatever about him not coming home all that well in recent enough starts, he has been still flying to the third bend, and what New In Session did him into that third bend was just amazing. Very impressive by New In Session. I would have loved to see him get around in front, stay his true line, and see exactly how fast he would have gone. Like, it's 31:20 or something, and he lost what, 5, 6, 7 lengths in running. So it's rated 130. Are they saying that he could have maybe done a 29:40 calculated, 29:30 calculated at this early stage? God knows. But he's in hot the next night. But if this fellow continues to do what he can do, he's going to take some stopping in this Derby, because, as you saw, the engine's there. He had the early speed to lead up some classy greyhounds into the bend and relish the long run home. He just seems to have it all. Really impressive greyhound, really impressive performance, but also Kalara Icon, the ground he made up. It was a stunning run by the winner and the second. There's no question about it. And for all that, Bocco's Doomy also ran well in third. Bocco's Doomy is such a racer. You can just see by him. Kalara Icon did everything to upset him into the corner. And once he drove across him, he just got around that bend, drove the bend, drove into the back straight, got to the front. Okay, it didn't happen for him, but he shows why he's won so many races.
Absolutely. It was just an incredible race. And we don't have to wait too long to see New In again, Ian, because come Saturday night, 7:34, the first heat of the second round, he goes from trap 5, which is very different to the inside draw that he had from last week. How do you think he's going to handle that?
I would have put him down as a trap 3 runner anyway. And he did drift off trap 1 the other night. Obviously, he had room to, but or from trap 2 the other night. But I wouldn't be too concerned about the draw, only for Linson Bocco on his inside. You're just concerned that he's going to do something similar that he did the other evening, especially if he's been challenged into the opening corner. From a New In Session standpoint, it mightn't be too bad a thing if Noctable Sid flew out with Linson Bocco chasing him and New In Session sat in behind him in third, and then the three of them qualified. That'd be happy enough. The inside is a concern for the UK runners. Tommy's Panther is now an inside runner. Very interested to see where he goes. I had him down as a trap 4 runner. He's in trap 1. So Swift Lettuce might get a headache from him. That could suit the 3 Irish runners. Santro Duke in the outside will probably need plenty of luck to get involved. It's about the 3 Irish runners. Just hoping they all get around cleanly and qualify first, second and third. That would keep me happy, Dave. Yeah,
I'm sure you would take that. The second heat, we might see perhaps the shortest price of the Irish runners at the second round, or certainly one of them. Ballydoyle Valor, 5-runner race, obviously with Distant Star, unfortunately withdrawn. He goes from trap 5. Will it be okay in the orange jacket?
I'd prefer him a bit further in, but he's a clever enough greyhound. I think he has won from certainly from 4 and 5 in the past. It's a heat where there's not a massive amount of early speed, and that'll certainly suit his chances. Just a run there. I would be surprised if Final Mad ran well. I thought he showed plenty of pace in behind Little Emmer the other night, but no, Ballydoyle Valor is without question the one to beat.
Yeah, we skipped forward a couple of heats to Dearjet Sydney in trap 3 yet again, Ian. But there's not a lot of speed inside him. Do we think he can cheat the draw again?
If he traps, he should. Because whatever Sparta Master does from trap 4, he's not going to cut in as fast as Dearjet Sydney, so that clash can't happen. I'm just concerned that Kalara Icon, whereas he doesn't have the early speed, he can trap. And you saw him the other night, like he gave Bocco's Doomy an absolutely horrendous time into the opening corner, moving wide from trap 2. So what's he going to do from trap 1? Vixen's Lad is without question the worst trained or worst drawn greyhound in the entire Derby thus far. And I just hope for his sake that he completely misses the kick, because if he does, he could just find himself in a lovely position with Kalara Icon and Dearjet Sydney perhaps clashing in front of him.
I'm glad you corrected yourself there. I would have Mr. Thompson on the phone, no doubt. Well, an interesting heat comes the 8:36, Ian, a dog that really caught my eye in defeat in the first round, Feudal Spirits for Graham Holland, one of the most lightly raced runners travelling over from Ireland. I think he looks the complete package. I think he's got the early speed. He certainly showed a little bit down the back. I think there's plenty to come from him. What can you tell us about Feudal Spirit?
He was very much a progressive dog in Ireland, got better and better. An impressive winner in 29-29 in one of the, I think it was the third round of the Irish Derby, beat Lenza Bocco on that occasion, was going the right way. He's the type of dog he'll probably need to set the pace in red hot company. But as you said, he has good pace down the back. He didn't find much up the home straight of the night, but it was rated 120 slow, so you have to forgive him that. He did move out from trap 3 last week. I was surprised. I thought he'd be a trap 3 runner all day, all night. From trap 2, I'd be worried for Little Emmer supporters if I were them. And you and Jacko edged in towards the corner, so it'd be interesting to see if Feudal Spirit gets loose. Obviously 3 Irish runners in that race as well. Doodle and Duke in 5 and Coulivanny Chick in 6. They shouldn't clash because Doodle and Duke is on the right side of Coulivanny Chick. Yeah, that's cracking heat, really cracking heat. I was going to back Feudal Spirit each way at sort of 33-1, but you'd like to see him get through this heat first before you dipped your toe in the water, because it's a hot heat. It's a hot heat.
Absolutely. I just feel he's perhaps one going under the radar a little bit there, which is not something you always say about a ground trained by Graham Holland. Wolf again goes from trap 2. Now, you mentioned a little bit earlier on you thought this was a tricky draw for him.
Yeah, I think Savannah Cody will certainly move to the middle. He used to do in Shelburne Park. Good trapper from the inside, but definitely takes a step or two right. Obviously Wolf should be leading up the likes of Rockmount Aussie. Should have enough toe for Wingman and the outside pair, Swift Cope. Jazzer's Man, I thought, was the very well drawn in this dog in this race. I think he's the one that'll come in for support. But if trap 2 Wolf does happen to avoid Savannah Cody or steps around him, he should take the world of beating. He was very impressive tonight. The way he went down the back straight was, it looked like a dog of 2.5 years of age, not approaching 4.
Absolutely. And heat number 7, Bocco's Doomy takes on Glen Garbow. And heat number 8, Blue Tick George again gets the red jacket. But Dean Ridge Rapid, the sponsor Star Sports, have reported some interesting money for him as well. Obviously got beat in the first round, Dean Ridge Rapid. What can you tell us about him? I'm sure we've not seen the best of him yet.
No, well, we probably didn't see the best of him in Ireland either. He was a dog that's shown a lot of pace over 2 bends around Dundalk, but it wasn't 2-bend pace he was showing. It was finishing speed. He was flying up the home straight. He looked a bit flat-footed the other night to the opening corner for my liking. A 5:29. Okay, obviously, he didn't get racing early enough, but didn't seem to show an awful lot of early speed into the race. And if he's not showing early speed, I'm afraid he's going to struggle in this contest, because if Blue Tick George is in front of him, he's not going to be passing him. Swanley Chick is a strong running lady. She went up very fast the other night. She really caught me off guard, like doing a 4:98. I didn't think she'd have it in her. She's a good starter. Bobby Bollinger can obviously go up a bit better than he did last night. And then the outside pair, Jamira Sprite, we know he can go up reasonably well. And Gonzo is going to be short in that race. So, Dean Ridge Rapid, if he is going to land the money, he's going to have to start coming away fairly sharpish, or he's going to find himself in trouble fairly quickly.
Yeah, he's been well backed for that heat. Right, that wraps up the second round. We look forward to that. Obviously, the shorter format this year means we see all the Derby runners a week earlier, as it were, the second round of 5 rather than the third of 6. I will just quickly say that the restaurant at Nottingham is open to the public. So if anyone out there wants to go and see the action live, you can do that. Just get in touch with the track. It's open to owners as well as the public. If not, of course, you can watch all the action live on Racing Post Greyhound TV from 7:34. And the action is beamed into betting shops as well. 7:34, the first heat kicks off. Thank you to you, Ian. We'll do this again next week. Look, here we go. He's got the flag out. Will you be as smug next week, do you think, Ian?
Listen, win, lose or draw, I'll be smug. Anyone that knows me will tell you that. I do think we're going to see a couple of improved performances from the Irish, but
wow, that's a slight insult.
but it does seem inevitable that we're going to lose 1 or 2 big names as well. So, it'd be great to see 9, maybe 10 of them qualify.
Was it 14 entries, 12 qualified through the first round? Give us a number, how many, no names, just the number, how many you think will be in the draw for the third round?
I might Dutch 7 and 8.
7 and 8, the quarterfinals, of course. That will be. Well, thank you, Ian, for your expertise and knowledge as well, and your time, of course, because I know you're a very, very busy man whenever the English Derby's on.
Thanks, Dave. Yeah, lots going on over here, but plenty of focus on England, and as I said, we'll keep the flag flying.
Absolutely. Of course, and thanks to you guys out there as well. Remember to like and subscribe to the GBGB YouTube channel. Follow all the social media accounts, Twitter, Instagram as well. We'll be back next week for another episode of Paws for Thought Derby Special. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Until then.